Good morning, everyone. Today we will study about the accounting treatment of subscriptions in the financial statements of a not-for-profit organization. As already studied, the subscription is the amount of money paid by the members periodically to the organization in order to maintain their membership. This amount can be paid either quarterly, half-yearly, or annually to the organization. Since it is a regular income to the organization, it will be credited to income and expenditure account. In order to calculate the exact amount which needs to be credited to the income and expenditure account, we need to prepare a table. This table will show the calculation of subscriptions for the current year. As given in the receipts and payments account, the amount of subscription received during the year may not necessarily belong to the current year. It may also include the amount due for the previous year or for the subsequent year. In order to understand the concept better, we need to understand two items. First, outstanding subscription. Second, subscription received in advance. Outstanding subscription is the amount of subscription which was due on part of the member but has not yet received by the organization. While subscription received in advance is the amount of subscription which is paid by the member in advance to the organization without it actually being due. Now, to understand it better, we will divide the period in three parts: previous year, current year, and the next year. Previous year is from 1st April 2018 to 31st March 2019. The current year is from 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020. The next year belongs to 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. Now, the subscriptions can be outstanding either in the beginning of the current year or at the end of the current year. And subscriptions received in advance can be given as in the beginning of the current year or end of the current year. Now, to understand it better, we will have to understand that the outstanding subscription in the beginning belongs to either previous year, current year, or next year. This we need to understand. Now, please look carefully. Outstanding subscription in the beginning of the year, that is, on 1st April 2019 of the current year, is given. Since this amount is given in the beginning of the year, which means that the subscription is due for the previous year. While if the outstanding subscription is given at the end, then it means that it belongs to the current year. Now, if we talk about subscription received in advance, if it is given in the beginning of the period, that is on 1st April 2019, it has been received in advance, that is, it will obviously belong to the current year. While it is received at the end but in advance, which means that it will belong to the next year. Thus, while calculating the amount to be credited to income and expenditure account, while preparing this table, we will understand the same logic. Now, since this is the amount of subscription which has been received and is shown in the receipts and payment account, this will be written here in the outer column. Outstanding subscription at the end, as I have already explained, it belongs to the current year. Hence, it needs to be added to the amount that we have received during the year. While outstanding subscription received in the beginning belongs to the previous year. As it is received for the previous year, it does not belong to the current year. Hence, it needs to be subtracted. Similarly, subscription received in advance in beginning, it belongs to the current year. Hence, it should also be added to this amount. While subscription received in advance at the end belongs to the next year. Thus, it should be subtracted. The resultant figure will be shown in the income and expenditure account. Now, there is another related concept which is subscription written off. Let's say there was certain amount due on part of the member in the previous year, but the member has failed to pay. Now, this amount of subscription needs to be written off by the organization. Since it is a loss for the organization, then it needs to be debited to, then it means it needs to be debited. Hence, the account subscription written off account will be debited. While as a result of which our asset which we had created previously as outstanding subscription will no longer be existent. Hence, it needs to be credited. As this particular loss needs to be adjusted with the amount of incomes during the year, thus it needs to be transferred to income and expenditure account on the debit side, while subscription written off account will be closed and needs to be credited. Now let us take an example. Subscription received during the year ended 31st March 2020 are given as follows. For the year ended 31st March 2019, it is 12,000. For the year ended 31st March 2020, it is 2,22,000. For the year ended 31st March 2021 is 5,000. The total amount is 2,39,000. Additional information is also given, which is there are 450 members, each paying an annual subscription of 500 rupees. Subscription in arrears for the year ended 31st March 2019 were 14,000, out of which 12,000 have been received. Calculate the amount of subscriptions to be shown in the income and expenditure account for the year ended 31st March 2020. Also, show the treatment of subscription in the financial statements of the not-for-profit organizations. Now, to calculate the amount of subscription receivable for the current year, that is the year ending 31st March 2020, we need to multiply the number of members and the annual subscription which is payable by them. In this case, it is 450 members and each member needs to pay 500 rupees. Hence, the subscription receivable for the current year becomes 2,25,000. Now, if we observe the amount shown in the question, for the current year we have received 2,22,000 only, while we were supposed to receive 2,25,000. Thus, it means that subscription in arrears for the current year, that is for the year ended 31st March 2020, is 3,000 rupees. 2,25,000 minus 2,22,000, 3,000 rupees. Now, to show this in the income and expenditure account, as only the amount belonging to the current year needs to be shown in income and expenditure account for the year ended 31st March 2020, on the income side, we will credit subscriptions by the 2,22,000 amount. The outstanding year amount for the current year will be added and the resultant figure 2,25,000 will be shown in the outer column. Now, in order to calculate the subscription in arrears for the previous year, we will calculate as follows. The amount of subscription due for the year ended 31st March 2019 was 14,000, while is given in the question to be received as 12,000, which means that 2,000 is still pending. Now, in balance sheet, as the amount of subscription which is in arrears will be received by the organization in the future, it becomes our asset. Now, outstanding subscription for the year 2018-19 rupees 2,000 and for 2019-20, that is current year, is 3,000. The total amount receivable by the organization for the next year will be 5,000. Also, as we have received 5,000 rupees in advance for the next year, as given in the question, here in receipts and payments, that it has been received 5,000 in advance. Thus, it becomes the liability of the organization to provide the services to these members in the next year without receiving any money. Thus, it will be shown on the liability side. Thank you.